All right. Welcome back, family. It is another evening with Better Minds Interrupting. And I must welcome my co host, Brown Girl Interrupting. How are you this evening?
I am wonderful. It's a good evening. We're finishing up a month of January. I'm excited for today's topic. And I have to say, I heard that you had a celebration this week.
I did.
Happy belated birthday. How was your birthday?
It was fun. It was fun. Can't complain. My mom, she made it fun. My husband did some things. He made it enjoyable as well. So I'm not gonna complain. But it was fun.
Nice. Good. That's a good way to bring in, that trip around the sun.
Yeah. So, what is the topic for today?
What's the topic for today?
Greed. Is it all bad?
Hmm. Is it all bad? And what are
Thank
the
you,
things we're
Redemption.
greedy about?
I'm sorry. I was yelling at Redemption, telling them thank you.
And namaste to Redemption. Thanks for
That's
being in the
right.
chat and joining us.
So, what you just say?
So I'm just curious to know, greed, that's a big thing, right? We got greed on a lot of things. I'm curious to know where we're going with this because it's a whole lot more than just stuff that we're greedy
It's a
about, right?
whole lot more.
Okay.
Thank you, Ja Logic and Friends. Ja, our producer. Um, it's this topic is like it's bigger than what our minds think. It's more than just you're greedy. It's more than that. It's psychological things that go into that. Guess what? Our childhood have something to do with that as well.
It always has something to do with it.
Always do.
It's all,
Yes.
it all comes
Always do.
down to childhood and parents. Like Freud wasn't that off, I guess, right? Like it's
Exactly.
mom or dad,
So
one of
I'm
them.
gonna start with this quote and I'm gonna end with this quote. For every gain, there is a loss. For every loss, there is a gain. It's about your outlook towards life. You can either regret it or rejoice it. Remember that. Okay,
Mm.
so greed. Y'all know I'm about to define the word before we go into it.
Of
So, what
course,
is
we
greed?
gotta know.
We gotta know what is greed. According to the Oxford Dictionary, greed is the inordinate desire to possess wealth, goods, or objects of abstract value with the intention to keep it for oneself far beyond that dictates the basic survival and comfort.
Mm.
It's a lot to take in, huh?
Well, I heard so much in there. It is a lot to take in, I think, right? I heard desire, I heard possession, and then I think I heard a lot about access, like excess, like too much, more than you need, right?
Right. Too much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the mechanisms of our mind, the human mind.
Okay.
And this is if you think in this concept. So, body first person. What is that? Think of it like this. Your body is here. Sorry, your mind is here. And your body is to the left of your mind. Right? So, body first person, mind, body is left to the mind.
So, are you saying they're separate?
They're separate right now.
Okay.
Okay. Um, and what is that? It is when the body becomes our life. We live as animals. What that mean? So if we're out of our body over here, and our mind is here, so that means it's not connected to us.
Mm-hmm.
Animals don't have a conscious where oh, I shouldn't eat that animal. He might die. Animals don't have that type of conscience. So their mind is outside. Their body is outside of their mind, if that makes sense.
So it's like the lack of discernment, the lack of like any consciousness, because you're not thinking through anything. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, humans are so different from all other animals in that way, right? We have the ability to identify right and wrong, to make decisions based on morality, which no other animals are doing. Is that the same idea, like this mind and body?
Yes, it's the same idea. Because when you, like you said, the animals is not logically thinking. They're just doing. There's no thought into their process. They just do. They just do actions. They are survival. They in their survival minds. And their survival technique is over here to the left of their body. They're not connected or in tune with the mind. They on survival mode. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So the second one is, and yes, redemption. You on point. I'm gonna get to that hoarding opulence and the priority placed upon it. All right. Okay. So the second one. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Jones.
Okay. So the second one is body, mind, in sync. Before I tell you what it is, do you know what it is?
So it sounds like it's the opposite. So if your body and mind are separate in the first one, the second one, body and mind in sync, is that your body and mind are connected and you are making conscious decisions, and you aren't just survival, but you're also determining things like with critical analysis, I guess. Well, as critical as some people go. Not everybody's critical in their analysis, let's be honest, okay?
Yes.
But there's some thinking, there's some
Right.
morality involved, right?
But this is your body and mind together, as you explained it.
That's in sync, right?
That's in sync.
Okay.
Okay.
But wait, hold on. I got to step back because I want to make sure I'm on the same page as you. So this is all components of greed. This is how greed shows up.
This is, we going through the mind first. We're going to see why and how psychologically we tend to have greediness. If we have greediness, because everybody don't have it. But we all kind of do have it to a certain extent.
Okay.
Okay. So redemption said nature sans nurture.
Yes, yeah. That's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Salute, smile, salute, V.
Salute, smiles.
Thank you for being in the chat and joining us.
Okay, so let's get to it. Body, mind, and sync is when the soul becomes our life. We live as rebels and fugitives in a life of desires. Emotions and will consume entities. This is the position of mankind today. What does that mean? I'm gonna go through it. I'm gonna read this line one more time for you before you say it.
Okay.
When the soul becomes our life, we live as rebels and fugitives in a life of desires. We are rebels and fugitives in the life of desires, emotions, and will, meaning consuming entities. And this is the position mankind is in today.
So at first when I heard it, right, rebels and fugitives in life of desires, like I was thinking, are we going against our desires? Or are we led by our desires? Because a rebel to me is going against something, right?
That's right.
But what it sounds like is that if it's where mankind is today feels like we just go with our desires and our wants, and there's no discernment, there's no holding back. So I don't know, I'm struggling with this one a little bit. But when I think rebels, I'm thinking people who don't move to their desires, who hold back, who have some control over that impulsivity, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
There's three. Before you give out all analysis, there's three.
Okay. Well, I'm processing. I ain't giving out anything. You're giving it. I'm just processing it outside. I see V is in the chat. Our souls just exist. Oh wait, greed only shows up through the mind. That's true, right? So that's what we're going to learn about today, right? Our souls just exist. Our souls aren't creating our desires. So Smile 69 Network. Yes.
All right now.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's interesting. This connection of soul and body and mind, because we got three different things here going on, and
So
all of it connects to greed.
Right. This one, the third one is mind first person. So the body is here. No, sorry. The mind is here and it's to the right of the body. Okay? When you hear mind first person, what comes to mind, Maria?
Ooh, I think someone who only thinks like with their logic and not with their soul, not with their depth of emotion, but it's all just logic and analytical because you put your mind before your body. I'm a guess.
You on it?
I'm on it. Okay, good. Because I feel like I'm in class and I'm like, I don't know. Do I know the answer? I'm trying. Like,
yes. For the record, she don't know what I'm hitting her with. I purposely didn't tell her anything so she can be along with the crowd.
Well, look, y'all, I am sifting through it so we all get to the bottom of everything. That Trini is up here with this high level understanding. We're breaking it down for all of us to understand it and access it and make use of it in our lives.
That's right. Okay, so with mind being first person, when we come to live our life in the mind, spirit, and by the spirit, though we still use our soul faculties, just as we do our physical faculties, they are now the servants of the spirit.
So wait, mind first means that the spirit is guiding us?
When we come to live our life in the mind, spirit, and by the spirit, though we still use our soul faculties, just as we do our physical faculties, they are now the servants of the spirit.
So is that kind of the end goal, is that we're looking to be led by our spirit because our spirit is our higher self?
It should be. It depends on what vibration you work
That's
in.
True. That's true. That's true. Not all spirits are alike.
Right. And you better get some attachment removal there. But you said it right the first time. You are being led by your spirit. Remember, the body is just a vehicle. The soul is your desire, wants, and needs. That's what you feed the soul. Your desire, wants, and needs. And then you have your spirit, which lives inside of this vehicle you running and grabbing from this and that and this and that.
Okay, so I can we back up, because I think I'm going to need some discernment in spirit and soul. How are those two things defined differently?
Okay. So your spirit is what has you alive. Think of it like this. When you die, your spirit leaves your body because your body is no longer of use. But your spirit survives. Now, your soul is what makes this vehicle roll. Is what the likes, the needs, the desires, the passions, your learning, it's all those mechanisms in your soul.
Okay. So the spirit is like the essence of the soul. And without your spirit, your soul doesn't actually have depth and like layers, and like it doesn't actually have life.
Yes.
Okay.
Without the spirit, there's no soul.
Okay. So
That's right.
redemption says your spirit is the essence of your being.
That's right. Without your spirit, there's no body. There's no soul. So you own it. Okay. Hold on for a second, y'all. So let's get to the consumption. I'm going to read this excerpt. It's from, I'm going to get the book name for y'all in a minute. But I'm going to read this excerpt from them. We're going to go through this real quick. Okay. If you live as a consuming entity, you will always lose. What do I mean by that, Maria?
So if you're always consuming and not giving back, you're losing.
Yes. Remember the quote I read. For every gain, there is a loss. So if you're always consuming, if you're always gaining, you're going to always lose. Because there's a give and take. That's how the world operates. That's how everybody operates. Give and take. Well, everybody should operate like that. It's reciprocate. Okay?
Right. Everybody should. Not everybody does.
So in other words, to get, you must give. You must sacrifice. Have you ever wondered why you have so many anxieties, phobias, worries, and fears? The reality of this world is evil. So what is reality? I will tell you. This is reality. I'm going to give you an example. Life without war is impossible, either in nature or in grace. The basis of physical, mental, moral, and spiritual life is antagonism. Health is the balance between physical life and external nature, and it is maintained only by sufficient vitality on the inside against things on the outside. Everything outside my physical life is designed to put me to death. Read that again. Everything outside of my physical life is designed to put me to death.
Does that mean like it's designed to test us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Things which keep me going when I am alive disintegrate me when I am dead. If I have enough fighting power, I produce the balance of health. The same is true of mental life. If I want to maintain a vigorous mental life, I have to fight. And in that way, the mental balance called thought is produced. Morally, it is the same. Everything that does not partake of the nature of the virtue is the enemy of the virtue in me. And it depends on what the moral caliber I have, whether I overcome and produce virtue, which is good character. Immediately I fight, I am moral in that particular. No man is virtuous because he cannot help it. Virtue, character, is acquired. How? I'm gonna give you 4 ways.
Okay, before you do, I feel like you gave us a mouthful. I'm gonna need to break it down a little bit. Okay, so it sounds like the core of what you're saying is that we are constantly being tested, right? In this body, we're constantly being tested to make the moral choices between kind of light and dark, right? Like which way are you choosing? And those are determinants of what is happening to our body.
Hold on. Sorry, I got stuff come up. So, I'm sorry, repeat that again. The last thing you said.
So our decisions in deciding between in all the tests we have, right? The tests are saying, are you going to go this way? Or are you going to go that way, right?
Right.
Are you going to go to the light? Or are you going to go to the dark, right?
Right.
Whatever that means, it could be something that's just not right for you or something that's right for you, right? Like that light and dark doesn't mean good and bad. It's just they're different, right?
Right.
And they take you on different paths.
Right.
So that's the key. But when we come back to the conversation on greed, what we're saying is that the decision you make is the decision about whether or not you're going to gain or lose based on how you're deciding.
Yes. And not only gain or lose, but are you going to pick that right road that's in the fork in the road? Are you going to choose the right path, just like you said? Because you're being tested.
Right.
But guess what that depends on? It depends on how greedy you are.
Well, and that goes back to, so we pick our road based on desires, right? So then we're back to this connection. And I think it's interesting because today I was hearing something about how, like, I think the real ultimate test is not to give in to the desires, because the desire is your immediate need. And if you can hold back on your immediate gratification for something greater, you have won something, actually. So you feel like you've lost because you didn't have it in the immediacy, but you've actually gained something that's even better for the future.
That's right. You want it. You want it, brown
girl. Okay. Well, you got me, like, my head is like deep in this conversation. This is some real heavy stuff I'm processing here. Redemption says conscience. Yes.
I'm trying to make us be at peace with ourselves, because it's so much to self-developing. Everybody think it's, oh, I'm gonna get my stuff together. No, it's more than that. You gotta get your mind together, and that mind is not easy to put in a place of peace when you only knew chaos, and you didn't know how to deal with it, and you didn't know how to be, and all that other stuff.
So it's retraining.
When we develop ourselves, we gotta 360 unlearn, relearn ourselves all the way.
All right.
Okay.
So before we do all this deep learning, do we want to take a quick break, and then we will come back to going deep into this learning of the mind? Because yes, I think we constantly have to revisit all of it.
Let's take a break. Welcome to Yomi, a yoga meditation program. Yomi, life attunement. You will learn to balance your 7 chakras. It's about self-improvement and self-acceptance. Using meditation to clear your thoughts. Yummy. It will help you gain strength and flexibility. Maximize your self-confidence. Hello, welcome back. Okay, so where we left off at?
So you are going to tell us how greed impacts this connection between our body, our mind, our soul, and our spirit. Where's this connection coming in?
So, the last thing I said, no man is virtuous. He cannot help it. Virtue is acquired. And when I say no man, it's not literally saying man. We are talking about both sexes. Okay. So there's our 4. Psychology only studies the observable aspects of the mind and discounts the unseen or intangible aspects of the human mind. Behavioral science attempts to study the intangible aspects of the human mind, why you do the things you do, and more importantly, why you don't do what you should do. That was the second one. Third one. There is no such thing as commercial psychology versus personal psychology. The mind uses the same mechanism to evaluate all types of relationships. Everything we do revolves around relationships. We relate to our environment, our friends, family, co-workers, other people, and even our pets. We are social animals. So with those 4 right there, the mind is unknown. It's bigger than what we know and what we think. But to get to this grade part, this is why I'm explaining this. Because, like I said, greed is more than what we think. So we gotta go deep. So I'm about to go in the trenches. You ready? You ready, Mom?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get
Look,
these
I got my paper and pencil. I'm taking notes.
Let's get in these trenches. All right. So let's get some truism about the human mind. Pain versus pleasure. People are more motivated to avoid pain than to seek pleasure. You rather avoid pain than seek pleasure. A person that is suffering depression will seek relief. Notice I didn't say cure. Before they seek happiness. The human mind cannot tell the difference between fantasy and reality. I wonder why. The human mind gravitates to the desires, emotions, and will of its psyche. Sorry about that. People crave entertainment, so fantasy dominates their existence. People crave entertainment, so fantasy is their existence. The human mind is easily distracted. You can either be the cause of these distractions or other stimuli will be the cause, but rest assured, people will be distracted because the human mind is gullible. The human mind responds quickly to these 3 forms of stimuli: sex, humor, and fear. But the greatest of them all is fear. By the way, the opposite of sex, humor, and fear is faith, hope, and love. Fear usually takes the form of what is called scarcity thought. You are afraid that someone will have what you feel belongs to you, or that others will have more stuff than you. The subconscious mind is often referred to as the heart and is the control mechanism the body uses to store our beliefs.
Okay, so there was a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna try to pull some of these pieces together because you talked about pain versus pleasure, right? But you didn't say pain, but you said avoiding pain, but not necessarily moving to pleasure. So pleasure in this case sounds like satisfaction that's actually fulfilling. But avoiding pain, often to avoid pain, people fill with gaps of things that are more immediate, lustful right away. So let's say, going back to what you said just now, sex, humor, fear is like that fill in sometimes from to avoid the pain, but not actually seek out the real pleasure.
There you go.
Okay. Okay.
You got
okay.
it.
Okay. And that's where we are in a world of fantasy versus reality, because it sounds like reality is painful. And
reality is painful. So fantasy land
painful.
takes over.
It's painful as shit. Yes, reality is painful, and we don't want to sit in that reality. We don't want to sit in our pain to find the path to real pleasure.
Yes,
we want a quick fix.
Which brings us, because we don't want to sit in it, which brings us to fear. And because of the fear, we want to avoid the pain. And because we seek pleasure, we create a fantasy in our mind to what that pleasure may be to avoid the pain, causing some type of greed.
So it's all connected to fear. And I love this because redemption, you hit it, right? True introspection is draining. It really is. It's hard. It's painful. That's why healing is so hard, but it's so needed. It's needed.
We got to stay uncomfortable, family.
Right? Lean into the discomfort.
That's right. We got to stay
comfortable with discomfort, right?
That's right. So, also,
the Dialogic says, wow.
So what you touched on, what did you say?
Josh says reality is painful. Bars, it should be the title of the show. LOL. Yes, it should. Look.
Yeah, reality is painful, right?
Fucking painful shit, right?
Right. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about greed, baby.
All right. But greed is part of reality. So what are we doing there?
Because greed can be also your fantasy, which is not a reality. Now, why are you greedy? Let's get into it. I'm just going to go with examples.
I just want it all.
I'm not going to overwhelm y'all on this one. But I'm going to give you an example. And maybe a few words out there. Okay, I like movies, and some movies contain some absolute truths. I not only find entertaining, but also educational. There is one famous quote I enjoy watching. It was from the original Crocodile Dundee movie. And if you're my age, you know about that movie. Okay, so here's the quote. You see, Aborigines don't own the land. They belong to it. It's like their mother. See those rocks? They've been standing there for 600 million years. Still be there when you and I are gone. So arguing over who owns them is like two fleas arguing over who owns the dog that live on. So these are very wise words, and probably ones that were overlooked by the majority of the people that watched the movie. But nevertheless, words that offer forth a truer definition of the concept of possession, better than any I could come up with, I am reminded of the story about owning a bear. You never really own a bear. It is more like renting it. You drink a beer, and about 20 minutes later, it comes right back out. Possession. The very word causes people to sit up and take notice, because possessing anything usually donates gain rather than loss. But unfortunately, I am going to have to debunk this theory. And this is how. This is a list of reasons why people are greedy. It's not many. But here you go, redemption is coming. The list is, they have scarcity thoughts. They have fear of loss. Very little regard for other people. Selfishness. Addiction to possession. And hoarding. Hoarding.
Hoarding. Exactly, right?
Hoarding. Would you like to intervene before I move on?
So, well, I want to bring in a story because I think it's interesting that you brought those things up. Because when you said, why are we greedy? I was taken back to this weekend. I had a conversation with a friend, and I've been having a whole lot of those uncomfortable moments. Some people bring them on to me through the way they make me uncomfortable. Some people push me through my discomfort to get to a better place, right? So, this was a conversation where I was being pushed to get through, right? And one of the questions she asked me is, what made you, so I mean, the story behind my life, right, is I left a 17-year marriage with 4 kids, and kind of like I thought landed on my feet. I thought I was like ready to have like this life that I wanted, right? And she said to me, what made you think that you were going to get it all when you left?
Ooh.
I was like, damn.
Ooh.
Damn. She was like, you thought you would go find the man that was going to be your dream. You were going to have the life. You were going to have your children be happy in the situation you decided to have. And I was like, damn, that was like, but it comes back to this idea of greed, because for me, I had to sit back and I was like, oh shit, it was my ego. It was my ego that made me feel this greed because I had had so much scarcity for so long. And I was so fearful of never having abundance that I was greedy to have it all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't heal before I went out to seek it all in my life.
That's right.
Right, like, so it all comes together, right? That's the greed. And that goes back to, I mean, I don't think I'm a bad person.
No, but
I would say though, and I'm going to take my responsibility here, I made a lot of bad choices along the way because of that greed, because my greed did not let me see reality. It kept me in a place of fantasy.
That's right. That's what I was about to say. But with your greed, it gave you liberation.
Yes, and redemption, yes. But I also walked away on faith. Yes,
right,
I did.
Right. It gave you...
And there were things I got. I did get liberation, right?
You got
and
liberation.
I got freedom, and there was so much good. But the greed part is that I should have, now in hindsight, been happy with the liberation and sat in that before I wanted to have it all.
Right. It's coming. But guess what? You still getting all. It's coming. You still got some healing to do. Once you get that healing out the way, bam, you're going to have it all.
Well, now I know my ego's the issue, so I'm working on that one, okay?
We working together. We got you. Okay, so let's take it one at a time.
Okay.
In consumerism, we have a similar situation occur, which is called scarcity thought. We're going to get more into what you were saying. A person perceives that other people are getting what belongs to them and they want their issue. When they can't have what they perceive as theirs, they blame others for their lack. The results of scarcity thought are massive consumer debt and financial meltdown into bankruptcy. Trying to keep up with the Joneses just doesn't work. It makes you broke. Trying to keep up with them Joneses. Okay? Fear of loss is an abiding attitude that whatever you own will be taken for you for whatever reason your work. For whatever reason your fear-filled mind can conjure up. Oddly enough, many greedy individuals attend auctions, estate sales, and foreclosure sales looking for a bargain, and these are the places they fear the most. Very little regard for other people. Here's the greedy part on that. Very little regard for other people is a prevalent attitude amongst greedy people. They have very little respect or love for anybody other than themselves. Ego. There is no thought of empathy or compassion in their lives. A good many are cast out of society, and many turn into downright hoarders. Selfishness is the best description of greed. Greedy people are very selfish people, and since they very little regard for their fellow man, They simply do not care what others think of them. They literally sneer at others and are highly unsociable animals. Addiction to possession is a mild form of hoarding. Greedy people hoard their belongings to the point of addiction. They acquire and store items they do not need, but simply want. Hoarding is pinnacle of possession addiction. These are pitiful people that hoard some of the weirdest things, thinking that by hoarding all types of goods and possessions, that they are insulted from society, and society is what they disdain.
So they're fearful of society, therefore they are hoarding everything because society may be taking it from them, and if they don't hoard it, there's going to be scarcity.
And that's the greedy part on people that hoards.
Can
you hoard thoughts?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
That's control then, right? If you're hoarding thoughts. You can hoard knowledge too, right? So people who don't share knowledge with others, that's a hoarding thing, right? Like I have to hold all the information, and I'm not, because if anybody else knows this, they can potentially be successful. And so it's a fear that my success is based on me being the only one having this knowledge versus a collective understanding of like, and that is such an individualistic thing, right? Like versus like this collective idea that if I share knowledge, I actually grow and build and it expands. That's the light in the dark though, right?
That's right.
It's your perspective on that, the hoarding.
That's right. So that's greed. I went through all the aspects of why are we greedy? So how do you get your mind to change? How do you train your mind?
Yeah.
The first step is to get the mind to stop doing what it is used to doing, or break the pattern that you've been following for so long. That's the first step.
That's a big one. Josh says, should I throw out my hip hop memorabilia?
No. You know why? Because that hip hop don't make you. That's just something you like. That's your love. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't define you, right?
Right.
That's it.
John, you can't get away with that. You too logical. You too much of a logical thinker to be saying that. I'm not letting you pass on that. So, why is it hard for you to stop doing what you need to stop doing? We got to be aware of what it is first.
I was going to say, but so like until this weekend, I didn't think I had an ego, right? Like, I knew I had one, but I was like, well, I got my ego in check. Like, I'll do the things that I see these people who got real big egos doing. And then I was like, the mirror was put up to my face for a second. And the truth of the matter is, like, you have to be aware, because now, as I move through things, I'm thinking, is this me being too greedy for something that maybe just isn't in my life for a reason? And it's okay for it not to be in my life for a reason. And being at peace with that. Is that like, that's that whole aligning with my mind and my body and my soul too, right?
Yes.
But I have to be aware. So
you have to be aware.
So not everybody has a Dina in their life to push them. So what's the tip you have if you don't have somebody who can come over and push you to it? That how do we get there on our own?
So if you don't have that person that put that battery in the back, if you don't got that person that's gonna be so accountable to make sure you ain't messing up, to hold you accountable, if you don't have that, then the only thing that's gonna get you to change is you being tired. You gotta get tired of the shit first. You get tired of it, you gonna sit there and be like, why not? I keep going through that. Why do I like this so much? Why I can't stop doing this? It's killing or hurting too many people. once you get to that point, you come aware, oh, damn, I did do this. But I did that because this happened. Oh, shit, I did do that.
That ties into what Redemption just said. The greater question is, what was the tipping point that birthed these behaviors? So it goes back to mom and dad. Like, what happened in my childhood that I am fearful and holding on and feel I need everything at one time because I'm worried that I'm not going to have it if I don't have it all.
Right.
Right? So it is. What's the big thing? But I think what you said is so powerful, right? Because it is, and this is where often, like, so I've been doing some interviews recently, right? And I know we're going to see a commercial for it. But I think for many people, that behavior of greed shifting, like in the guys that I've talked to, it's always been rock bottom. As soon as they get to that rock bottom, when it hits them, when they are like, oh shit, my behavior has really screwed up my life. I've lost good people. I've lost good relationships. I've lost, things in my life that I had because I was, and not necessarily because I was greedy. That's not what everybody identifies, but it's because I did something. That ownership of the behavior that then pushes you to go through the healing journey and the process and the unpacking and unwrapping all the uncomfortable shit, right?
That's right.
That's when reality just hurts, right?
That's when it hits your ass. You got that's bad that you self-sabotage yourself, which I'm gonna do just a snippet on Bettermindz LC on Instagram of self-sabotaging. Why are you that detriment to yourself that you self-sabotage every good thing that comes to you? Why? That's the question. Your greed took over.
And you're not aware of it. Like, I think most of the people who self-sabotage don't consciously, like, I'm gonna blow, this is a great thing right in front of me, and I'm just gonna blow it up, right? Nobody says that, right? Consciously. But unconsciously, we make decisions.
People do say that when they got mental issues.
Okay.
So if you are a narcissist, if you are a psychopath, if you are a serial killer, any of those things, you know your demise at the end. But you don't care. Because you're going to just keep going because this is what you like. So I'm going to keep sabotaging. I don't care.
What's the immediate pleasure?
Not caring.
Not caring, and I get the gratification of something immediately.
That's right.
So greed is working for me without me having to think about myself because I'm getting what I want.
That's right.
So why would I change that?
That's why
why would I change it?
Exactly. Because you know why you will want to change it? Oh no, why you don't want to change it? Because you want to avoid pain. And skip that and go straight to seeking pleasure.
All right. Wow.
So what's going on with your show? Tell us something about it. Give us some insight.
All right, so I'm excited. So I've been blogging for a while, but I'm moving into a show called Pain to Power, Leading with Love, and you're going to see a little bit about what that is actually right now.
My name is Brown Girl Interrupting, also known as Maria, and soon I am going to be venturing into a new project. So you might know me already as a blogger who writes, and now I am going to be moving from sharing my story to sharing the stories of others through interviews. So please stay tuned for the new show coming up on the YouTube channel for Brown Girl Interrupting called Pain to Power, Leading with Love. And it's going to feature different individuals who have taken pain and turned it into power by creating healing opportunities for others. So the first teaser that you have is an interview that was done just last week on January 9th with a social media popular guy named the Meme King for Real. And here's a little teaser of that interview. See you soon on Pain to Power, Leading with Love with Brown Girl interrupting?
Know that everybody is dying to know your story, because you have some amazing things that you've been sharing in terms of relationships. And the power of what I've noticed is that you're able to not only impact the way women respond, but men respond to you too. And that's just a rare thing I've seen, is that anybody's content that can affect and really impact both men and women is pretty powerful. And it says a lot. So I got to ask you, was there a moment, or like a moment in your life, that ignited this whole desire for you to share your wisdom about relationships?
Well, if you want to get, like, go back further than Mean King, you know, there was a period of time in my life where I wasn't the best man. You know, I wasn't the best guy. I didn't love women properly. You know, I was pretty much not a good guy. And before Mean King, back in about, I'm going to say 2010, I decided I had broke a woman's heart. I had really hurt someone who really cared about me. She really loved me. Like, she was what society likes to call, what we call ride or die. Like, she was a ride or die woman. And I didn't treat her right at all. And after really hurting her, I woke up one day and I wasn't happy with myself at all. Not as a man, not as a dad, not as anything. And I made a commitment to myself to want to do better. I accepted who I was at that time and said, listen, you need change. If you ever want your sons to grow up and choose and be a man, you have to lead by example. If you ever want your daughter to grow up and choose a suitor, you want to lead by example. You want her to choose a suitor like you. So in order for these things to happen, you have to be the example. So I started working on myself, and it took me 6 years. 6 years of really tearing back the layers. 6 years of getting ugly, you know, really getting into it.
Yeah.
And I was finally healthy enough to love a woman back in like 2015, 2016 is when I finally arrived.
Definitely, please go, if you haven't done it yet, go and subscribe to Brown Girl Interrupting on YouTube and hit the notification bell so you get the most recent updates. And the next interview, if you haven't seen it yet, go watch the Meme King interview. He goes really deep into his own uncomfortable journey, and the next one is going to be on February 5th at 8 o'clock on Brown Girl Interrupting and on the Ranchers Union with Daniel Cargie, who is a motivational speaker, also has a lot of content on TikTok and on Instagram, and he goes by Self-Love Speaker. So definitely check him out, but also check me out on February 5th, next Saturday at 8 o'clock on Brown Girl Interrupting. So, all right, Trini, where are we going now? So we are identifying, how can we figure out, how do we get that self-awareness to even know that we are acting on greed?
You will know once you get tired.
Okay.
Once you get tired, if you don't got that battery put in your back, you're going to start seeking answers. You're going to start questioning yourself. You're going to come with the whys. So this will require some effort, but the reward will allow you to live the life you want and enjoy the level of success that you want. To retrain your mind and direct your subconscious mind, you start by paying more attention, so that when you see yourself getting distracted and not following up on things that you wanted to do, you take a step to break the pattern at that moment. You can break the pattern by doing something else. For example, you can start following up on what you had planned to do. You can create a list and follow up with it regularly to see if you are on track. One thing that always works is to think about your goals every morning and your tasks, your list, your things to do after you drink your water, brush your teeth, and you wake up. Then you think about your goals. You think about you first. And as you, sorry, one thing that always works is to think about your goals every morning. As you're in bed, think about your goal and think about what you can do to achieve them. No, don't do that. Drink a lot of water, brush your teeth, do you, then think about your day.
Okay, but wait, sometimes, I'm just going to be devil's advocate, is that sometimes it helps people who are struggling to get their day started, who are struggling, is to imagine, you know what, today I'm going to accomplish these goals. So I might not be unpacking them and making a list and being like real thorough and thinking them through, but maybe like being like, you know what, today I got goals to reach. So I'm going
Right.
to get out of bed. And so it's like your motivation.
Yeah, it is. It depends.
So it could be both.
It could be both.
It's a both and, not an either or, right? It's a both end.
But this is how you break your pattern. Because if you always laying in the bed thinking about it, then we need to stop first. Because we got to take care of ourselves first. First. It's very important because your thoughts, even though it may be positive, is you're not going to manifest it in a positive way because you haven't taken care of that spirit first. Okay. So I will go on to say, but is all greed bad? The short answer is no. I think it is safe to say that many things taken to the extreme can become bad from good or even okay. In one counseling session with a young man who was an investment banker with a prestigious New York investment banking house, I asked him questions. Why are you greedy? His response was interesting. He replied, I don't view myself as greedy. I view myself as ambitious, and there is a difference. Before I respond to his reply, allow me to give you some more background. This young man was referred to me by his employer. With all of the recent spate of insider trading scandal rocking Wall Street today, one of the new programs that many Wall Street investment banking houses have instituted is to identify up-and-coming investment bankers who exhibit greedy tendencies and require that they receive counseling so that they do not fall prey to the dangers of scamming the system by using insider trading information. This is smart. Think of it as preventive counseling. Now back to this young man's response. People tend to be confused when it comes to word meanings, as I stated. The meaning of words is not in the words. The meaning of words is not in the words. I'm saying again, the meaning of words is not in the words. They are in us.
It's the value we put on the words.
That's right. It's in us. You're right.
Okay.
So, let me offer the most common confusions. Faith versus hope. Righteousness versus goodness. Freedom versus liberty. Rules versus ethics. Quality versus quantity. Quality of life versus standard of life. Love versus lust. Obligation versus legalism. Wealth versus money. Want versus need. Feminine versus womanhood. War versus conflict. Well-being versus being well. Cause versus effect. Release versus cure. Rationalization versus right. And promise versus oath or vow. See how these can be, they're similar, but it can be confusion if depending on what your concept of that word is.
So that idea is really about how we place value in things based on our own experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
So justice doesn't look the same for everybody or show the same for everybody because we define it differently. So how we define words is oftentimes how we even have like parallel conversations, right? Where we're not actually talking on the same thing, but we're talking side by side about different things, yet saying the same words.
That's right. That's right. So
I see Waymay Linda on says, I must learn to take care of body before other things. Yes, and that's a really good point. And I'm glad that Trini kept pushing that one because that's an important one. Yeah, take care of ourselves before anyone else.
yes, always do that. Trust and believe. You
Mm-hmm.
can't wheel this vehicle if you don't take care. I don't care nothing about what you got going on. Your spirit don't care about what you got going on. The only thing that spirit care about is getting the nourishment it needs now that it has woke you up. And that nourishment is a bottle of water before you brush your teeth. Why? Because that is pure and you have no chemicals in your mouth from the toothpaste. That's why you drink the bottle of water first before you brush your teeth. But it also helps hydrate your body, give you a fresh mind, a fresh look, and clarity sometimes. But when you just get up, brush your teeth, you rushing and you drinking coffee, you didn't give yourself time to be like, I love me. Let me take care of me. Let me hydrate me. Let me do this first before I go out there and figure it out. You don't do that. We don't.
That's your self-love. That's your self-love moment. You got to give yourself a moment to love yourself and appreciate yourself. And I think that goes back to, we had talked about this once before, gratitude. So the opposite of greed is gratitude, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And Redemption says, smart, but would it not be hard to break that level of indoctrination? Ooh.
Now,
So
now this is why you have to know what you need to break. This is when them questions gonna come in, and when you get tired, it would not be hard, like you said, to break it. It won't be hard, but you gotta get tired of it first.
And then, well, and I want to go back to what you said, because you said like a whole lot of things. You got to get tired, but then you got to look for your patterns.
You gotta look
You
for your
got to
pattern.
look at the patterns and then think about what's the root that is leading to that pattern continually showing up. And
That's
then now that I have my root, now I know what my patterns are. I'm tired of this shit and I'm ready to be different, right?
Exactly.
So now I got to set some goals. What am I going to do differently? Even a small thing of like, you know what? Instead of responding right away, I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to take a moment to reflect before I respond or I react to something, right? Like, so that's a shift in your behavior that recognizes that pattern of impulsive responding wasn't healthy, wasn't helpful. And it was a greedy thing because maybe I'm responding right away. Like if I'm in a conversation with someone because I want to win. I'm greedy.
That could be
about
greedy
the
too.
moment to
Yep.
win.
Yep.
I'm hoarding the knowledge. Like
Yep.
I got it all. I know the answers.
Yep.
And therefore that pattern continues, right? So that's important to think about, like all those steps, because I think you outlined them really well.
That is true. And I'm going to leave y'all with this quote once again. And check out Facebook, because I'm going to put some more stuff on this greedy that we couldn't cover in this time frame. We're going to continue the topic on the Facebook page. So, for every gain, there is a loss. For every loss, there is a gain. It's about your outlook towards life. You can either regret it or rejoice it. That's your fork in the road you need to choose. So we'll end this with come and see us every Thursday, 9 p.m. at the same bat channel, same bat time.